Hi there, I'm Kala. My mom said if I didn't show up to my sister's dog's birthday party, she'd cut off my tuition. I thought it was a joke. Until the credit card charge hit. Until my name got erased from my own company. Until I realized the dog got the flowers. And I got silence. But what if this party was never really about the dog at all? What if it was the final test in a family that never saw me as enough? If you've ever been the one left out, don't miss what happened next. Hit subscribe to hear the whole story. I sat in my car for an extra 5 minutes after pulling into the driveway, watching the soft glow of string lights spill from the backyard. The music inside was upbeat. Early 2000s pop, heavy on nostalgia and light on taste. From the trunk, I grabbed the small gift bag I'd thrown together, an overpriced dog toy, a Bark Day card, and a bottle of rosé I knew no one would credit me for. When I stepped inside, the air was heavy with vanilla-scented candles and fake cheer. Everyone was already there, friends of Vienna's, neighborhood couples, a few sorority sisters from her undergrad days, now moms in Pilates gear. Sparkle was wearing a pink tutu and a rhinestone-studded collar that probably cost more than my textbooks this quarter. Vienna spotted me instantly. Her eyes didn't widen in welcome, just narrowed like I was 5 minutes late to an audition for a role I hadn't asked to play. "Oh, good," she said without warmth. "You made it. We were about to start the puppy cake cutting." I pasted on a polite smile. "Wouldn't miss it." "You almost did," she added, then turned before I could answer. Mom brushed past me, arms full of sparkling lemonade bottles, and muttered, "Put your phone away, Kala, don't make this about you." It hadn't even occurred to me to take my phone out. I found a quiet corner near the patio and watched as guests clapped when Vienna lit a single candle and held Sparkle up like a furry Simba. My cousin Brianna appeared beside me, holding a half-eaten cheese puff. "This is next level unhinged," she whispered. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. The toast followed. Dad gave a speech, mostly about how proud he was of Vienna's vision and creativity. Vienna beamed as he handed her a bouquet of fresh peonies. Kala helped pick those out. I wanted to say, she called the florist, double-checked the address, confirmed the delivery window, but I said nothing. They clinked glasses of Prosecco as I stood quietly by the grill, sipping flat soda and watching the shadows grow longer on the lawn. The warm lights from the garden danced against the stucco walls, softening the tension in the air, but not enough to erase it. "Not for me. Where's the one for me?" I joked, half-heartedly to my mom, nodding toward the flowers. She didn't even look at me. "This was Vienna's night, sweetheart. Don't start." "Start what? Existing?" "Later." While Vienna opened a tiny, diamond-studded collar tag for Sparkle from Grandma and Grandpa, I checked my bank account under the table. My tuition payment was due in 2 days. The quarter's final project was eating up all my evenings. And now this. That's when I remembered Marcia's voice on the phone earlier that week, cold, calculated. "If you don't come, don't call us for tuition help. That simple. Asterisk." A pause. Then, "And I suggest you wear something flattering. It'll be a photo-heavy event." I wore black slacks and a pressed white blouse. Not for the photos, for the armor. Around 9 p.m., when the candle wax had melted into sticky pools and the music started slipping into awkward silence, I stood up quietly. I thanked the hostess, Vienna's friend. Not my mother. I nodded at my dad, who gave me a distracted thumbs up while stuffing cupcake wrappers into a trash bag. In the car, I drove halfway back to LA in silence before pulling over at a gas station near Joshua Tree. I sat there, phone in hand, thumb hovering over the contact labeled Dr. Reeves, advisor. I tapped the message box. "Can we move my thesis defense up? I think I'm ready sooner than planned." I hit send, not out of anger, but something sharper, something cleaner, like when you finally recognize the difference between being tolerated and being ignored. Because that night, under the palm trees and the string lights and the polite applause, something in me shifted, and I wasn't going back. I stared at the credit card notification like it was a bad joke. $1.924 Sparkle's Bark and Spa. Another below it. $312 Palm Springs Party Company. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. That card had been mine in undergrad. Just a student limit with barely enough space for textbooks and groceries. I kept it open after graduation to build my credit score, low risk. No balance. But the only other person who ever had access to it was my mother. The pieces clicked. I didn't know what made me more furious, that she had the nerve to use it, or that she hadn't even bothered to tell me. I sat in the dark, parked outside the tiny 24-hour diner off Highway 111. watching my breath fog up the windshield. It was nearly midnight when I pulled back into the driveway. Headlights off, the house glowing with the last traces of artificial joy. Most of the guests had already gone. The trash bins overflowed with pink napkins and paw print paper plates. Sparkle barked somewhere inside. I walked through the side door and found her, my mother, stacking champagne flutes in the kitchen, humming along to a radio ad like nothing had happened. "Did you use my card?" I asked, my voice low. She glanced at me, then back at the glasses. "Excuse me? For the party. For Sparkle's spa day. The party company. Did you use my old credit card?" She sighed. "It was last minute, Kala. We had to move quickly to secure the vendors. You weren't answering your phone." "That's not an answer." "Well, I had the login saved. It's not like you were using it." She waved a hand like she was dismissing a weather report. "That's not your card anymore." I said. "You didn't even ask." She turned then, towel in hand. "Don't be dramatic. You act like it's some massive betrayal. It's for family. It's for Vienna," I corrected. "And her dog." Marcia raised her eyebrows. "Sparkle is family. And Vienna deserves this. You should be proud to support something that brings us together." I stared at her, stunned. "You mean, be proud to be used?" Her tone snapped. Cold. "We gave you life. Kala, stop counting pennies. You'll get it back eventually, asterisk." That sentence, "we gave you life," hit harder than I expected. As if that one act of biology granted her unlimited overdraft protection on my adulthood. I didn't say another word. I walked upstairs, each step sounding sharper than the last. My old bedroom hadn't changed, pink floral curtains, high school debate trophies, and a dusty pile of books I'd meant to donate years ago. I closed the door behind me, kicked off my shoes, and collapsed onto the creaky twin bed. The ceiling fan spun lazily overhead while I stared at the faded sticker stars I'd glued there at 13. Back when I thought this room meant safety. Morning came too soon. I woke to sunlight cutting across the room in angled stripes. The house smelled like leftover cupcakes and pet shampoo. As I rubbed the sleep from my eyes, I heard Vienna's voice echoing through the hallway, animated, excited, loud. "Guys, my reel's already at 3,000 views." I stayed silent, scrolling through my phone out of habit. Then I saw it. Vienna's post. A perfectly edited 45-second video. Slow motion of Sparkle running through balloons. Close-ups of the cake I had custom ordered. Mom twirling with a glass of rosé. The caption read, "When your family throws the ultimate surprise party for you and your fur baby." #blessed. There was no tag for me. No mention. Not even a hint. And the comments rolled in. "You have the best sister. Your mom is iconic. Wait, who made that cake? So cute." My jaw tightened. I watched my work, my money, and even my presence vanish in a swirl of glitter, filters, and curated lies, like I was never there at all. I spent the rest of the morning avoiding everyone. I took my coffee to the back porch and let the wind tangle my hair as I stared at the dry hills in the distance. That afternoon, I sat on the edge of my old bed, laptop on my knees, and opened a blank document. I typed, "I want my name off that card. I want repayment. I want boundaries." I didn't hit send. Not yet. Instead, I logged into my student portal and reviewed the tuition payment timeline. There was still a week before the late fee hit. I ran a few calculations. If I pulled from savings now, I could cover the quarter myself. I whispered into the quiet of that pink, forgotten room. Asterisk, "Let's see how much power you really hold." Mom, asterisk, dash dash dash. The tuition payment cleared before sunrise. I watched the transaction process on my screen in the dim light of my childhood bedroom. The only sound in the room, a faint buzz from the ceiling fan. Just like that, 4 years of cautious saving evaporated in a matter of seconds. But something in my chest loosened, like I'd unhooked a leash no one had realized was still tethered to me. I didn't tell anyone, not even Brianna, not because it was a secret, but because I needed to feel it on my own first. That I had paid, that I had chosen myself over obligation, that their control over me, financial, emotional, invisible, had finally cracked. Later that morning, I walked into the kitchen for coffee. Vienna was already there, sipping a green smoothie while scrolling her phone. Her pajama set matched Sparkle's collar. Mom was rinsing a mixing bowl in the sink. "Morning," I said. Neither looked up. I poured my coffee in silence, eyes scanning the cluttered fridge. That's when I saw it, a magnet-clipped photo I hadn't noticed in years. Vienna, age 6, clutching a gold-foiled participation award from her ballet recital. Her grin wide, too lopsided. I remembered that day. It had been the same week I brought home a report card with straight A's, including an accelerated placement in math. I'd slid the paper across the dinner table with a quiet sort of pride. Mom didn't look up from her Real Simple magazine. She muttered, "Good job, honey," before turning the page. That night, we ordered pizza to celebrate Vienna's big night. The memory settled like a stone in my gut. Not bitter, just heavy. Another flash. Sophomore year. The state science fair. I'd built a data model on local water pollution. Won first place. When I got home, the kitchen was empty. A note on the counter. At Sparkle's obedience graduation. Left you lasagna. My name hadn't even made it onto the fridge. The last straw had been college graduation. I wore honors cords. Walked across the stage while the crowd cheered. But my parents had left right after my name was called to make it in time for a dog-friendly wellness retreat they'd booked months prior. As I stirred my coffee, the refrigerator hum seemed louder than the silence between us. I walked out without another word and headed upstairs. The rest of the day passed in a haze. I answered a few emails from my thesis advisor, sent reminders to students I was tutoring remotely, and rescheduled a research group call for later that week. When evening fell, the desert breeze cooled the air. I sat on the patio steps, laptop balanced on my knees, Sparkle barking at a hummingbird somewhere above the garden wall. My phone buzzed beside me. A DM notification from someone I hadn't heard from since high school, Megan Cruz. "I just saw you on UCLA's Founder Spotlight page." Holy crap, Kala, you did it. Another message followed. "You were always the quiet one, but I always knew you'd go far. I'm proud of you." That was all. No hashtags, no exclamation point explosions, no glitter emojis, just recognition. Quiet, genuine. My throat tightened. I blinked fast and stared at the words, letting them sit in my chest like warmth I didn't know I needed. It was strange how a message from someone who barely knew me could feel more validating than 3 decades with my own family. Later that night, in the hush of my old room, I opened a new Google Doc. Title: Asterisk. Noticing the patterns, asterisk. I started typing. 5th grade Math Excellence Award, no celebration. 10th grade State Science Fair champion, missed for Sparkle's obedience class. College graduation, left early for dog retreat. No family photo. Then, I opened my email and scrolled through the last 3 years of silence. Punctuated only by tuition reminders, passive-aggressive birthday texts, and family update newsletters written entirely in Vienna's voice. I clicked, new folder. Dragged screenshots in, labeled files, dated the entries. I pulled up a picture of my master's project, the financial toolkit I'd helped build for single working mothers, the one that had been downloaded more than 10,000 times nationwide. No one in my family had ever asked to see it. I whispered into the dark. If I ever forget why I walked away, this is why, asterisk. I didn't know what I would do with the document. Not yet, but it was mine. And this time, I was the one writing the story. We gathered in the living room at 10 sharp. As if summoned for a disciplinary hearing. Mom perched on the edge of the armchair like a middle school principal. Vienna lounged across the couch in a matching velour set. Sparkle nestled in her lap like a prop. I sat on the ottoman near the fireplace. The only seat left that didn't recline or command space. "This isn't an ambush," Mom said, folding her hands. "It's a check-in. We're worried about your behavior." Vienna nodded dramatically, brushing Sparkle's ears. "It's just been a lot. Your energy's been really off, Kala." I almost laughed, but the dry air in the room clung to my throat like dust. Mom started with a familiar rhythm, soft voice, measured tone, the exact cadence she used on teachers during parent-teacher conferences when she needed to deflect blame. "You've always been the more sensitive one. Thoughtful, yes, but you hold on to things. You read into moments that aren't really there. Like when someone steals my credit card to throw a party for a dog." I said calmly. She didn't flinch. "All you do is keep score," she said, waving it off like a pesky mosquito. "Your generation is obsessed with being right. Whatever happened to grace? To gratitude?" Vienna sniffled. "I just wanted a sweet birthday for Sparkle. You turned it into a whole thing." "Oh my God," I muttered under my breath. "This is unreal." Mom's voice sharpened. "You may think you're above all this, Kala, but you're not. This family raised you. We gave you everything. And this is how you repay us?" And there it was. Twist. The ultimate guilt card. Asterisk. I didn't react right away. I let the words sit between us like a lit match, waiting for wind. Then I said slowly, You didn't raise me. You managed me. Like a spreadsheet. Like a project you didn't want but couldn't cancel. Asterisk. Vienna gasped. That's so cruel. No, I said, standing now. What's cruel is growing up in a house where your straight A's earn less praise than a participation ribbon from dog camp. What's cruel is pretending it didn't hurt when you left my graduation early to check into a pet-friendly spa. And what's cruel, I added, looking directly at my mother, is using the word family only when you want obedience. Asterisk. The room fell into a heavy, swollen silence. Only Sparkle broke it, yipping at a dust bunny drifting across the hardwood floor. I'm done. Asterisk. I said. I didn't mean it theatrically. I meant it in a way that settled deep in my bones. The kind of clarity that doesn't need fireworks. I walked out of the room and into the garage, flipping the light switch that buzzed like it hadn't been used in years. The air smelled like cardboard and old detergent. I knelt near the back, where my childhood boxes sat in faded Sharpie, school, Cala, trophies, essays. I peeled the tape off one box and pulled out a manila folder near the top. Inside was a letter, yellowing at the corners, National Merit Scholar. My name printed in formal font beneath the university seal. Never framed, never mentioned. The tears didn't come. I snapped a photo with my phone, opened Instagram and posted it. Caption. Asterisk. Turns out, I was always enough. Asterisk. I slid the phone into my pocket and exhaled. Behind me, the sound of voices returned. Muffled, rising. Vienna's whine threaded through Mom's sharper notes. But I didn't turn around. I didn't owe them anything more. What they wanted was compliance. What I chose was dignity. Asterisk. Monday morning found me in the engineering building at UCLA. Hunched over a conference table in a windowless pitch room. Running on black coffee and righteous indignation. My group was finalizing our presentation for the AI ethics panel, my prototype. My code. My model. But I kept hearing my mother's voice echo in the back of my skull. We gave you everything. When it was my turn to present, I spoke clearly, confidently, like I'd earned my right to stand there. Because I had. Afterward, as the group disbanded, Dr. Amani pulled me aside. You did well, she said, her voice calm but curious. Very polished, very controlled. But I have to ask, who's Vienna Shale? She came up in your media footprint. I blinked. She what? Dr. Amani raised an eyebrow. In several hits. A blog post. A podcast mention. Even a comment thread under an incubator article about your startup. That night, back at my apartment, I sat on the edge of my bed and Googled myself. It took 2 seconds for the rage to rise. Vienna's blog, polished and perfectly SEO optimized, featured a new post titled, What It's Like Supporting a Sister Who's Changing the World. The subtitle made my stomach twist. Behind every great woman is a sister who helped her get there. The article was filled with vague anecdotes and glossy humility. But she made herself sound like the unsung mastermind behind my product development. Business strategy. Even my pitch tone. I guess I was just born strategic. She wrote, strategic my ass. I clicked away from the tab before I did something I'd regret. But the words stayed, burned into my retinas. The next day I met with Lynette Abrams, my undergrad mentor and one of the few adults who'd ever seen me clearly. We sat in her sunlit office, surrounded by books stacked like towers of quiet rebellion. She listened, arms crossed, jaw tight. She's trying to write herself into your legacy. Lynette said when I finished. I don't want to cause drama. I whispered. She scoffed. Cala, if you don't reclaim your narrative, they'll erase you from it. And no one will even know what happened. Asterisk. I stared at my hands. The calluses still faint from late nights coding on a second-hand laptop. They'll say I'm being petty. Selfish. They'll say worse. She said plainly. But better they say it while you stand tall than praise your silence while you disappear. I didn't sleep much that night. Instead, I sat at my desk, hands hovering above the keyboard, letting her words settle. Then I opened a new doc. Subject line. Asterisk. Brand integrity and narrative ownership. Immediate policy update. Asterisk. I wrote without flinching. Every word was clean, measured. There were no insults, no accusations, just policy. All external communications involving the company, its founders, or its brand image must be reviewed and approved by the communications director. No family member, partner, or third party may represent, market, or imply contribution to the company's operations, IP, or brand unless formally contracted to do so. Misrepresentation will result in legal recourse. I saved the draft, then reread it aloud in a whisper. This isn't emotional. This is legal. This is survival. By sunrise, I had an email ready for my legal consultant. Vienna wanted credit? Let her earn it with a contract. A job title. A paper trail. Because I wasn't just protecting a product anymore. I was protecting the only thing they'd never given me, my name. Vienna wasn't in the company. But she was about to find out she couldn't use it either. The morning sun had barely warmed the kitchen tiles when my phone chimed with an email from the PR team. My thumb hovered over the screen, already sensing it wasn't good news. Hi Kala, we received feedback from your mother. She'd prefer the messaging to be more inclusive of Vienna's voice. Attached were social media drafts. A post tagging Vienna as co-visionary, a term that stopped me cold. One caption even said, "So proud of the Shale sisters and their shared vision for accessible AI." Shared vision? Vienna couldn't even explain what an API was if I handed her a dictionary and an espresso shot. I sat down, blinking at the glowing screen. It wasn't just annoying, it was dangerous. My mother had gone behind my back again, trying to twist my public image into a family fairy tale. I didn't reply to the email. I dialed Vienna instead. She answered on the third ring. Voice chipper like she just returned from a spa. "What's up, superstar?" I kept my tone level. "I saw the drafts. You're not part of the company." Vienna, "Oh, come on. They're just posts. Everyone knows the best brands are family-driven. Except we're not. And you didn't help build this." A pause. Then her voice dropped, silk-laced with threat. "You really want to turn this into a thing? Because if you don't cooperate, Mom pulls support. That means press, sponsorship, family connections, gone. So this is blackmail. This is survival. You can be brilliant, Kala, but you're also cold. People don't follow cold. They follow a story." I swallowed the rage bubbling in my chest. "Then write your own." She laughed, the brittle kind that snapped like a twig. "Good luck without Mom. You're a genius in a void." I hung up without saying goodbye. Minutes later, I shot off an email to the PR team, "Scrap all drafts. No one outside the executive team is authorized to speak for the company." The reply came fast, "Your mother has already approved the campaign direction." That was the moment I knew. I might have built the business, but the narrative was still up for grabs. And I was done letting anyone else hold the pen. I grabbed my laptop, locked myself in my office, and changed every password linked to the company, emails, vendor platforms, social handles. Gone were the shared logins my mother insisted on for emergencies. I terminated the contractor my mom recommended for media outreach, and posted an urgent hiring ad for a new communications director, one who reported only to me. I opened our brand guide, a document I once pored over for hours, perfecting tone and color theory. Now I added a new section under governance. No external party may represent the company in public-facing materials unless contractually authorized by the founder and CEO. Misrepresentation will result in legal recourse. Then I opened a fresh document. At the top I typed, asterisk. This is the chapter where I stop asking and start removing, asterisk. It was past noon when I finally stood up. I hadn't eaten, hadn't drunk anything but cold coffee. But I felt stronger than I had in months. I stepped outside, into the narrow patio behind my apartment. The city buzzed faintly, but for once, I felt detached from the chaos. In control, determined. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Mom. "What are you doing? You're blowing this out of proportion. Vienna just wants to help." "Help? Is that what you call hijacking?" I didn't respond. Instead, I went to our official Instagram account and posted a quiet, clinical update. Asterisk. All official statements will come from @Kalashale moving forward. Thank you for your continued trust. Asterisk. The comments flooded in, mostly support. A few asked what happened. I didn't explain. I didn't need to. The silence from my family that followed was louder than any response they could have sent. No frantic calls, no apologies, just quiet, the kind that comes when someone realizes the power they used to hold is slipping through their fingers. I wasn't afraid of that silence anymore. It meant I'd finally stopped waiting for permission. And soon, I'd stop waiting for apologies too. Hey, the Zoom meeting ended with a strange silence. Not because people didn't have thoughts, but because no one dared to speak them. First, I closed my laptop, my reflection faint in the black screen. For the first time in weeks, I felt still, not peaceful, not yet, but still. It lasted maybe 12 minutes. My phone began buzzing like a beehive had landed on it. Messages poured in, from aunts I hadn't spoken to in years, cousins who only texted on birthdays. And of course, Mom, what did you do? You're tearing this family apart over a company. Vienna's heartbroken. You should be ashamed. I put the phone face down. Then I flipped it over again. A notification from Instagram. Vienna was live. I tapped it. She was curled on her velvet couch. Face tear-streaked. Hair in a loose bun that somehow still looked red carpet ready. Sparkle sat on her lap like a stage prop. Her voice trembled as she spoke. I just never imagined my own sister, my own blood, would erase me from something we dreamed up together. She sniffled. I was there in the early days. When she doubted herself. When she was nothing but code and coffee. She paused for dramatic effect. I didn't ask for credit. I just asked to belong. I watched her blink into the camera. Like she was searching for a shred of humanity in her invisible viewers. The comments flew by. Kala. Who is this sick? She's freezing out her own family. Blood should always come before business. I closed the app, not because I was hurt, but because I knew exactly what Vienna was doing. She was handing me the rope to hang myself with. And I wasn't planning on grabbing it. Instead, I opened Slack, pinged the team leads. Thank you for your time today. Attached are the updated communication protocols and a draft of the next campaign series. Going forward, please direct any media inquiries exclusively to me or Raya Lynn. The Slack reactions rolled in, thumbs up, check marks, a quiet high five from one junior dev I barely knew. My email pinged next, a response from Raya. Let's set up a kickoff call tomorrow. You've already done the hardest part. Now let's rebuild it to actually reflect you. It was late afternoon now, and sunlight was slicing through the blinds in sharp gold lines. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. I wasn't angry, not anymore. I was just clear. Clarity has a cost. Though, that evening, I got another call, this time from Uncle Derek, who rarely called for anything other than Thanksgiving headcounts. I don't know what you're trying to prove, he said flatly, but your mom is devastated. Vienna's a mess, and frankly, it looks like you've gone cold. I stayed silent for a beat. Derek, I said, how many of my awards have you ever seen? He paused. What does that have to do with anything? Exactly. He hung up. Later that night, Vienna posted another story, this time with a photo collage, childhood pictures of us. Captions like, sisters before success, and, I miss who we used to be. It would have landed, maybe, if she hadn't tagged every PR contact in my network. Raya messaged again, you might want to get ahead of this before they do. So I did. I posted a single, quiet statement on my company page, asterisk, we each get one name. I've chosen to protect mine. Not for likes, not for pity, but for truth. I wish everyone peace, but I'm no longer borrowing pain to earn it, asterisk. The likes rolled in slowly, then faster. A few colleagues reposted it. Dr. Amani sent a short but potent reply, finally. That's leadership. The storm didn't stop that night, but it shifted. For the first time, I wasn't drowning in it. I was watching it from the shore. Raya Lynn arrived with the calm precision of someone who didn't need to announce herself to take charge. Her resume read like a master class in strategic storytelling, Fortune 500 campaigns, crisis management for Silicon Valley flameouts, and one very public takedown of a celebrity cosmetics fraud. I didn't ask her to play nice. I asked her to tell the truth. We started at sunrise, side by side at my kitchen table in Santa Monica. I brewed the coffee. She brewed the storm. Here's what we post, Raya said, sliding her laptop toward me. Founder statement. Timeline of your work. Clarification on team structure. No embellishment. Just facts. Bold ones. At 9:01 a.m. The statement went live. Our story began with an idea, not with influence. Our team consists of individuals who've worked tirelessly, not those who've simply shared the spotlight, asterisk. The caption didn't mention Vienna by name, but it didn't have to. By noon, traction had snowballed. Shares, comments, praise, questions. It was the first time the public heard my voice. Unfiltered, and the first time I didn't flinch when they did. Raya handed me her phone. You need to see this. The screen displayed a message thread. Screenshots from an anonymous employee who'd been pressured to credit Vienna in press drafts. Edited Google Docs. Backdated emails. A podcast booking receipt with Marcia's signature authorizing Vienna's interview as co-founder. A tech commentary account posted, y'all, this is next level appropriation. I don't care if it's her sister. Lying's lying. By 4 p.m., the podcast team that once featured Vienna issued a public retraction. We regret the confusion. Based on new evidence, Vienna Shale had no formal involvement with the project featured. We apologize for the oversight. Brands that had flirted with ambassador deals started to pull out. One cosmetics line posted a vague story about re-evaluating partnerships based on integrity. I didn't feel glee, just gravity. That night Vienna went live on Instagram again. I didn't tune in, but the summaries came fast enough. I'm human too, she sobbed. This wasn't about credit, it was about connection. I thought we were sisters first. But this time the tide had turned. You don't steal from people you love. Someone commented. She built something real, and you tried to decorate it with filters. Others were less gentle, some were cruel. That part one didn't condone. I'd lived under judgment too long to wish it on anyone else. Still, I noticed the family group chat had gone silent. No one defended Vienna, no one attacked me. It was as if the entire narrative hit a wall of sudden, awkward truth, and no one knew how to rebuild from the rubble. By the following morning, I opened my email to find Raya's brief message. Asterisk, you're trending for the right reasons. And the right people are watching. Asterisk. Later that day, I walked the boardwalk at Venice Beach. Latte in hand, barefoot on the cool sand. My laptop sat beside me. Open to our restructured company site, new bios, clear roles, and a section titled, Our Real Beginning. Behind me, waves crashed gently. In front of me, a little boy giggled as his kite took flight. I smiled, not for the victory, but for the breath I could finally take without weight on my chest. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. I was finally seen. Asterisk. I whispered into the breeze. Asterisk. This was never vengeance. It was clarity. Asterisk. Dash dash dash. But clarity is just the first chapter of peace. And I was about to face the one person who hated it most. A full year had passed. But the air in that ballroom still felt heavy with things unspoken. I stood beneath the soft glow of chandeliers, wearing a crisp white blazer that caught the light just right. The woman announcing my name. Calm, firm, pronounced every syllable as if it mattered. Dr. Kala Shale, founder of FemLogic AI. Applause swelled across the room. I stepped forward, heels clicking against polished marble, gripping the bouquet I'd picked up from a florist near the venue. No one had given it to me. That didn't make it any less deserved. As I walked to the microphone, a moment flickered in my memory like static. Sparkle in a tutu. Vienna holding her like royalty. And Mom clapping harder than she ever had at any of my graduations. This moment wasn't for them. But they still haunted the edges. I delivered my speech with ease. Honed over 12 months of interviews, panels, reintroductions, no stumbles, no shaking hands. When it ended, I stepped down and made my way toward the back exit, avoiding small talk I didn't owe. Outside, the night breeze cooled the back of my neck. I exhaled deeply. Later, in my office overlooking downtown LA, the proof of my past surrounded me. Not out of ego, but necessity. Framed certificates, photos from hackathons, articles from obscure science journals with my name as lead author. I didn't frame them back then. I didn't think they counted if no one else clapped. Now they lined my wall. Not for guests, but for the girl I used to be. The one who begged for recognition no one ever gave. Sometimes I still heard echoes. That birthday party in Palm Springs. The cake I paid for. The laughter that never turned my way. The whisper of a threat if I didn't attend. But I didn't carry those memories to punish myself anymore. They just lived here now. Like old furniture I'd chosen to keep. Even if I didn't sit in it anymore. Vienna hadn't posted in months. Her last video, the one where she cried, accused me of betrayal, had quietly disappeared. Sparkle now appeared only on her private feed, shared with a dwindling list of followers who'd moved on to newer dramas. Mom. Silent. Occasionally a message would slip through. Hope you're okay. Nothing more. No context. No apology. Just digital breadcrumbs from someone who once knew how to control me with silence and now had nothing else to offer. But Brianna, my aunt with the sharpest eyes and softest shoulders, still texted every month. I saw your panel. You stood like granite. Whole town's proud. Honey. Some words, even short ones, land like blankets on cold skin. Back in the office, I stood by the window, watching lights blink across the city. On my desk lay a stack of scholarship applications for a fund we just launched, the Legacy Reclaimed Grant for Women Founders from Undervalued Families. I scanned the list, marking top candidates. Then I paused. Vienna's name, application incomplete. Essay vague, credentials exaggerated. I sighed. She wasn't disqualified because of our past. She simply didn't meet the standards. I clicked, decline, and moved on. No bitterness in my chest. This wasn't revenge. This was structure. Balance. The kind of justice that didn't require shouting. Later that week, I walked alone along Griffith Park. Latte in one hand, dog treats in the other. A mutt I'd started fostering trotted beside me. Part retriever, part question mark. No spotlight, no stage, just wind, earth, and the sound of my own breath. I'd never felt more grounded. I wasn't waiting for my family to catch up. I wasn't hoping for their applause. I had rewritten the rules. And I wasn't handing them back. Maybe Sparkle got her party. But I got something better: silence, clarity, and a life that finally feels like mine. Sometimes, the hardest battles aren't fought in courtrooms or boardrooms, but across dinner tables, within family chats, or behind forced smiles at birthday parties. This wasn't just a story about a dog's party or a sister's lies. It was about reclaiming identity in a place that tried to rewrite you. So here's the question: have you ever had to step away from family just to hear your own voice? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found strength in Kala's story, don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button. We have more real, emotional, and powerful stories coming your way every week. Your voice matters. Your story matters. See you in the next one.